Hello, my name is John Dulski. I'm an Aviation Safety and Operations student here at the University of North Dakota. Today we're fortunate enough to have Vanya Voskresensky here, a safety management systems consultant for a major airlines pilot group. While at UND, he had his medical denied, but later regained it and graduated with his commercial and multi-engine ratings with an aviation management degree. Vanya, can you tell us more about your background as well as what you do at work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, raised in the Twin Cities and came up to UND for an aviation management degree, as you mentioned, finished up with my commercial multi. And a week later, I started at my employer, been with them for 6 years, always in the safety group. We have about 10,000 pilots, 3,500 flights a day. And there's a lot of safety data that comes in. So I help facilitate our safety management system, work with FOQA data, ASAP data, we have audit data, fatigue risk management, all the fun stuff. And I just ensure that all the hazards are identified and they go through the right processes to be documented and mitigated.
That's cool. Well, one of the worst nightmares a pilot can have is to lose their medical. Can you describe what happened to cause you to lose that?
Yeah, absolutely. In high school, it was a very tough time for me. I was coming out to my family. I was keeping a lot of secrets. At the same time, I very much separated my life from home and my social life and my physical well-being wasn't well taken care of. And with that, I had suicidal ideation. And on a very tough night, I called a friend. I was at the airport, actually. It was in my little safe place. Drove out there. It was dark in the evening. I watched a movie about a gay young man who killed himself and kind of how his family suffered through that. And that suicidal ideation was at a point of acting on it. I called a friend and she made me promise her that I would seek mental health the next day. And I did. I told her I would give it a day. I didn't go to school the next day. I went to my doctor's office as an 18-year-old and said, I need help. And in that moment, they prescribed me medication, psychiatric medication. And 2 months later, I wanted to come up to UND, start flying, and I wasn't able to because I got denied my medical.
After your initial denial by the FAA, what did you do?
I asked for help. Something I learned at an early age is to recognize when you can't do it alone. And I learned that the FAA wants me to fly. I learned that UND wants me to fly. And with the resources here, they helped draft letters to the FAA. And we had resources at UND, and we essentially drafted a package with all the notes through my counseling sessions to the moment, and I stopped my psychiatric medication as well. So we delivered a package to the FAA with UND's guidance, and it was about a year and 2 months of back and forth, ensuring that I sought counseling during that time until I got my restricted medical. It was a medical that would expire every single year, and it was conditional. And the condition was that I seek counseling once every 2 weeks. And I did that at the UND Counseling Center.
Well, and going through these mental health challenges and having to deal with all this stuff, how did it impact your career path?
Honestly, it gave an opportunity to not fall into the river of everyone else. There's always just this flow of students that just want to fly and need to be in the flight deck and need to be pilots at the major carriers. And something I recognize is that I didn't want to conform to that, and it's okay to separate myself out of that. And I think that opportunity to step away, forced to step away, would help me recognize that there are other career opportunities where I actually had more of a passion. If I wanted to now, after 4 years of counseling, I ended UND with an unrestricted medical. And I don't have a condition on my medical anymore. I don't need to seek treatment for me to fly. So if I wanted to be an airline pilot, I can. I've got my commercial multi and I can continue building hours. But I have a passion in safety, and that door was only opened up to me because I was forced to take a step back and really observe and learn more. And for that, I'm grateful.
In the end, like, was it worth it? Like I know, of course, you wouldn't want to go through the same things you experienced once again, and how hard that is. But was it worth it going through that process and kind of proving yourself that you could get that back and finding a different career?
Yeah, I would say if I had that rejected letter, would I do those same actions again? And in seeking counseling and writing letters to the FAA, yes. I have the bug of aviation. I love to fly, and I don't need to be in the flight deck for me to pursue that. And counseling helped me learn so much more about myself, to gain the confidence to be able to do this interview, to be fearlessly authentic at work, to understand what it is to be fearlessly authentic with myself. And if it wasn't for the FAA and if it wasn't for UND, I can't imagine not having those skills in my life and being as successful as I am today without that.
Yes. What advice do you have for like college students going through similar issues, like whether it be getting their special issuance or dealing with mental health struggles? What would you recommend to them?
Ask for help. The resources are there for you. I didn't realize I asked for help from my friend, and when she made me promise to go and seek counseling the next day. But that's essentially what I did. The resources on campus are only growing, and again, UND wants you to fly, the FAA wants you to fly, and they both want you to do it safely.
Yeah.
And they trust you, they want you to grow. It's not a dramatic, no one's tearing your medical in front of you with your hopes and dreams, and it's all gonna fall apart. Instead, they just want to make sure that you're doing it safely and you truly grow from it. Yeah. For students, don't be afraid of the process, and be welcome to taking a step back. There is a lot of pressure in the UND aerospace program with flying and getting your hours and all these stage checks, that I haven't heard of a student that took a step back, even if they didn't even make it in time to the next stage check and they have to go to the next TOC. They appreciated the time to just absorb and understand what they're doing instead of being caught up in the mess or falling into that river or flow. Yeah. So be open to it, be courageous, and ask for help.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you kind of ended with, is sometimes we just forget like how wonderful it is to fly. It's a feeling that you can't replicate anywhere else, and it's a feeling that easily, by having a regimented structure of things you must do, and that you're constantly pressured, that you forget that you came here for a reason, not to maybe get to the airlines as fast as possible. Some people are that way, but you came here to fly and to do what you wanted to do in life. So sometimes you just have to take a break from all that and look outside the window. It's
really appreciate it, right? Yeah. Something I do want to also add is that you don't need to have suicidal ideation to seek mental help. Yeah. I had a break from counseling since university, and then in the last several months, I just had this compiled wave of life smacking me in the face with just horrific things. And I tried my self-help measures, all the things that I learned at UND, with having cry spells and like putting on a sad movie and forcing myself to cry, and like, oh, that's good because my body's practicing emotion. Working out and running around the lake, eating healthy, and ensuring that I get some sleep. But I noticed that still I wasn't motivated to go to work. And I love my job. If there's anyone who's gonna work a lot, it's me. Yeah. I'm the Leslie Perkins from
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, exactly. And so if I'm a potato on the couch, I'm realizing I'm not.
It's a terrible feeling.
It is. It absolutely is. And it took me a while to realize that I need to go to a counselor, and it only took 3 sessions, and I'm back into shape. I am. It was so easy for them to help me and just lift this burden that I had, and I didn't have any suicidal ideation. I wasn't worried about that at all. But it was just this deep fog that I was in, and to recognize that those counseling services are available for not just those that are experiencing traumatic things, but for the everyday fog is very eye-opening.
I know you talked about like having that little card that we had made for like the mental health task force. Like you can even just see a couple of those symptoms and be like, maybe I should really take the steps to go and get some help. Yeah.
Honestly, if I had that card a month ago and I was just reading through it, I'd be like, oh, I hit 2 of these bullet points. That of course it makes sense. It's a mental health thing. But when you're in the fog, you don't think like that, right? You do need friends to help you recognize it. And I think I'm so excited for the peer-to-peer program that's going to start next fall. But any friend has that responsibility for each other, right? When you're drinking, you can never tell how intoxicated you are, but you can tell how intoxicated your friends are.
Yeah.
Same thing with being fatigued, same thing with mental health. It's really hard to self-diagnose and self-assess. So be a friend if you see someone in need, and ask the tough questions, because it's just going to grow that friendship so much more.
And it's also just only going to get maybe worse too. Like for their mental health, it's not something that goes away with time, really. It compounds, right?
It is not in your favor.
Time doesn't heal all wounds.
Correct.
Like that.
So honestly, what I've heard from the John D. Odegaard Aerospace Mental Health Task Force is very exciting. I'm sitting on the board, alumni board, and we're getting updates. What's going on in the industry with other colleges. UND is really leading the effort, and it takes you and I to normalize that conversation. We should be talking about mental health openly without fear, with our colleagues, with our professors. And it's really cool because the student body is now driving that discussion. It's not coming from up above, it's you guys asking those questions. Don't stop.
I'd like to give a quick thank you to Vanya. It's not easy talking about personal experiences, let alone putting them out on digital media. As UND and the aviation community continues to live, grow, and learn in the world of mindfulness and mental well-being, stories like these are invaluable to professionals in the world of aviation. Again, thank you for your time, and thank you for those who watched today.